I've never seen anything like it. Trump policies leave U.S. farmers in dire strait. Article from Common Dream. It's a 5-alarm fire, one Kentucky soybean farmer said, describing the harmful effect of the president's tariffs. All over TikTok, all over Instagram, I'm watching a lot of FAFOs for our farmers. And I want to remind all of us of something. I get the urge many times to do that as well. Well, you're getting what it's happening. You deserve it. After all, you voted for it. And some of you still say, even with the pain that you're going through, you're voting for it. And then I step back out of my pride. I step back out of it's earned, but out of my lack of empathy. And then I remember something that we always stood for. And it went with the phrase, united we stand, divided we fall. I also remember that if I have a sick patient, a person with a mental illness, I will have grace on them. And mental illness is not necessarily what you think it is. When I was a homophobe, when I was a sexist, I had a mental illness. I was indoctrinated from my culture, and I had to give that up. And in giving that up, it made me who I could be. And that's how I look at farmers. That's how I look at those people who vote against their own interests. That's how I look at folks who continue to fray. Now, as anticipated, U.S. President Donald Trump's economic and immigration policies are harming American farmers. They're getting it from two sides, folks, both on the labor side and on the price side. After Trump slapped a 30% tariff on Chinese imports in May, Beijing retaliated with measures including stopping all purchases of U.S. soybeans. Before the trade war, a quarter of soybeans, the nation's number one export crop produced in the United States, were exported to China, whole 25%. Trump's tariffs mean American soybean growers can't compete with countries like Brazil, the world's leading producer and exporter of the staple crop, and itself the target of 50% tariff. We depend on the Chinese market. The reason we depend so much on this market is China consumes 61% of soybeans produced worldwide. Kentucky farmer Caleb Riglin, who is president of the American Soybean Association, told News Nation on Monday, right now, we have zero sold for this crop that starts to be harvested right now. So nobody is there to buy their crop. Roland continued, it's a 5-alarm fire for our industry that 25% of our total sales is currently missing. And right now we are not competitive with Brazil due to the retaliatory tariffs that are in place. Our prices are about 20% higher. And that means that the Chinese are going elsewhere because they can find a better value. So their angst, their pain is a direct result of Donald Trump's policies. By the way, before Donald Trump was elected, he said he was going to do this, and progressives pointed out what the results are of tariffs. And they are, one, it's a tax on poor people, middle class people. It's a tax on everybody because, again, it's money the government collects, but it's further. It's money removed from the vibrant economy. And because of our deficit spending, it's not money that is thrown back into the economy. It's money the president is going to use to continue paying for the tax cuts the wealthy gets. And when the wealthy gets this money, because wealthy people don't spend more money when they pay less taxes, they just put that money into further investments. And those further investment doesn't mean building a factory, because if people have less money, there's no reasons to build factories because they don't have the money to spend to support those. So it's a lie that's just a matter of collecting income from all of you and giving it to the few. And the American soybean farmers and their families are suffering. They are 500,000 of us that produce soybeans, and we desperately need markets and we need opportunity and a leveled playing field. There is an artificial barrier that built in with these tariffs that makes us not be competitive. Tennessee Soybean Promotion Council Executive Director Stefan Maupin likened the tariffs to deaths by 1,000 cuts. I'll say by one big gash, really. That's what I would say. We are in a significant and desperate situation where none of the crops that farmers grow right now turn a profit. So what does that mean? They need government subsidies. Wait a minute. Isn't that called welfare? Isn't that the things that make these folks many a times look at the few people in the urban areas on these programs a problem? We are in a significant and desperate situation. None of the crops that farmers grow right now return a profit. Alan Meadows, a fifth-generation soybean farmer in Lauderdale County, Tennessee, said, "This has been a really tough year for us." What year is this again? Oh, the year that that the person you elected is now in power, the one that you thought was going to help you out. So much of what has happened, and by the way, the farm bill under Biden really helped out farmers, and they'll tell you about it. Even as they vote for Trump, they tell you about it. It started with devastating flooding in April, followed by a drier than usual summer. Higher supply costs due to inflation and Trump's tariffs exacerbated the dire situation. But we have a lot of crop. There's a lot of crop to be sold. So even with the floods and the drought, there is still oversupply of product, but nobody to sell it to. So much has happened, and what's going on here is totally out of our control. DC controls the market. Farmers are desperate for help from the federal government. Really? Whatever happened to lifting yourself up by your bootstraps again? Being a rugged individual? And where are most of these farms again? Red states. And what's familiar with red states again? Already, you get more money from the government than you pay, but we need to give you more to keep you afloat. I'm good with that, though. I'm telling you, I'm honestly good with that. Farmers are desperate. Maupin added that farmers have done everything right. No, they haven't. They voted wrong. They voted for what's occurring to them right now. So the first part of of solving Ron's problem is correcting their behavior. I looked in the mirror when I wasn't the right kind of person. I looked in the mirror and I said, you would cease to exist. And I mean that both literally and figuratively. You have to first accept that you've made a mistake. Now, remember earlier how I started? I said, if you have somebody with a mental problem, like I had a mental problem at one time, you have to solve that problem. So how do you solve this mental problem? And this is where I want to talk to my brothers and sisters who sometimes get upset when we say, well, we got to toe the line one more time, and maybe one more time, and maybe one more time. Now is the time that the farmers are feeling pain, that our rural brothers and sisters are feeling pain as their hospitals close down. They can see it with their own eyes now. Now is the time where the educational process can actually be blended with their living experiences to have a material effects on their minds, because you still have farmers saying this. It's not just soybean farmers that are hurting. Tim Maxwell, a 65-year-old Iowa grain and hog farmer, told BBC, our yields, crops, and weather are good, but our interest from markets right now is on a low. Why? Tariffs. Despite his troubles, Maxwell remains supportive of Trump, saying that he's going to be patient. I believe in our president. However, there is a limit to Maxwell's patience with Trump. We're giving him the chance to follow through with tariffs, but there had better be results, he said. I think we need to be seeing something in 18 months or less. We understand risk, and it had better pay off. It also not just Trump economic policies, but let me explain the opening there. I know a lot of you are saying, my God, with all the pain that you're going through, you're still a Trump supporter. Well, yeah. You know why he's still a Trump supporter? He doesn't know any better. Who is out there spending the time, the effort? And I know it's frustrating. Who's out there? LB, help me here, Professor. Campisi, help me out, Professor. Who is there? You have to teach. You can't be an elitist. You can't be, well, damn it, if you don't know it, you should. You're feeling the pain. Then why are you doing it? Because that's all they know. That's all they know. Look, I want to hate on these people. I want to call these people all kinds of names. And then I realized I would be wrong. I'd be wrong. I need to be out there. The same effort that the right spent on polluting these people's minds is the same that the right did that. It's the same effort and more the left is going to have to do to show them that the taxes is a ripoff. And as this farmer waits for 18 months, many of his brothers and sisters will get the result that the current administration is looking for. And this is not conjecture. They said it. In the last administration, they said that many small farms will have to go. That is what Donald Trump's previous Secretary of Agriculture said. The day of the small farm is over. It doesn't need to be over. It shouldn't be over. We shouldn't have corporate farming solely. In fact, corporate farming should be the minority. But his previous agriculture secretary said it. Look it up. Now, we have to be armed with and going into the den and speaking to those farmers and letting them know what the agriculture secretary said. Let them know how tariffs really work. Let them know that this is nothing but a ploy to take their lands away and turn it into corporate farms. You know, a lot of people raising chickens right now. You see all these farmers raising their chickens, but they don't own the chicken coop. It's all manufactured and processed. They build the company comes and they build the stalls for you. And what you are is a glorified worker for the corporation. That's what most farmers that raise chicken and pigs are becoming. Where they used to control their destiny, now they're controlled by corporate America. But they don't know it. They think that's the only choice that they have. And you know why it's the only choice that they have? Their profit margins are so low. And why are their profit margins low again, even though food prices in the stores are high? Because the corporations, under the auspices of neoliberalism, now under the complete tenets of the right and the middle left, that's what they're doing to you. But they don't know that. Nobody has the patience to take the slights as they attack you, to go in and constantly tell them, talk to them, talk to them, talk to them. They're whipping your butt. Talk to them. Show them. When your kid keeps doing the wrong thing, do you stop and say, well, just go to jail? Because that's what you're going to turn out to be? Or you keep speaking to them. Put in your all effort into it. I have a 34-year-old daughter, and there are times that things that she doesn't know that I'm still working on. And that's what you got to do. And there, as LBW says, it's a perfect time to provide off-ramps to those who are in the right lane of the MAGA movement while they're struggling, while they're not able to make ends meet. And let them know that J.D. Vance has invested a huge amount of dollars in Acre Trader, which will buy up their foreclosures. That is important. What LBW just pointed out. The vice president is buying a lot of stocks into the company that's going to buy the land when you go bankrupt. The farmers need to know that. We need to go into farmland and tell them that. I think you get the gist of where I'm going with the farmers now.
All of our country's problems, from polarization to ignorance on domestic and international issues to a complete misunderstanding of our economic and healthcare systems, are a direct result of a derelict mainstream media that too often bend over backwards to support corporate or bought politicians' wants as opposed to the people's needs for real information to make their lives better. Independent media is the only solution to inform truthfully and factually. Why? Because our loyalties are to you, the ones who fund us with small dollar contributions and subscriptions. Please consider supporting our independent media platforms by subscribing to our Egberto Off the Record newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It's an investment that pays incalculable dividends.